afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. This is Miss Brianne, and welcome to a brand new literacy series. And this series is called our 1K before K and Beyond Book Club. Now, this book club is based on our brand new 1K before K and Beyond program. It is designed for young elementary school students who have entered grades kindergarten all the way up to 3rd grade, as well as for those pre-kindergarten students who have completed our 1K before K program and are looking to continue to read books. And so if you want more information about our new 1K before K and Beyond program, please visit us at the Children's Desk at the Westhampton Free Library in order to obtain information and to sign up. But in any event, for this we are combining our Let's Get Ready series with this brand new book club, our 1K before K and Beyond book club. And this is designed for young elementary students in grades kindergarten and 1st grade. And this helps give you that right push forward in order to start reading the books you need to log into your book logs. But in any event, it's going to be very similar to our Let's Get Ready for 1st grade and Let's Get Ready for 2nd grade programs, in which I read a book or two to you, and then we have a fun little activity. Well, optional activity. If you want, I'll demonstrate the activity, and you can either choose to complete it, or you can choose to use the rest of the time in the program to read some books to include in your book logs. And when you registered, you will have received a list of book recommendations to choose from. But in any event, let's get started. So, now, we recently had a holiday last week. It took place on a Thursday. Does anybody know what holiday that is? Well, if you said that last week's holiday was St. Patrick's Day, you are correct. And take a minute or two to think about this. What do we do on St. Patrick's Day? I'll give you a couple minutes to think about it. Well, there are lots of things we do on St. Patrick's Day. Well, we can make artwork of leprechauns and pots of gold and rainbows. People tend to wear green on St. Patrick's Day, dress up in green, including a green hat. We'll make green cookies to eat, drink green milk, and there's parades. Sometimes we eat something called corned beef and cabbage, which, by the way, it is very good, boys and girls. And there's even parades in honor of St. Patrick's Day. Very fun holiday to celebrate. Now, even though it already took place in honor of St. Patrick's Day, I am going to read 2 books to you based on the holiday. And I'm going to be pointing to the words as I read, as I usually do. And if you know a word, boys and girls, please feel free to read along with me. Now, the first book I am going to read to you today is what we like to call a nonfiction book. And who remembers what a nonfiction book is? Well, a nonfiction book is a book that gives true facts or true things about a particular subject, like a holiday. It is not a story. It gives you real, true information about something that you want to know about. Like, for instance, St. Patrick's Day. Now, a little later on, I am going to share some tips on how to choose nonfiction books to read. But we will come back to that later. But first, I am going to read our nonfiction book. And it is called Festivals, St. Patrick's Day, which is part of a series of nonfiction books called Bullfrog Books, which is a series that produces very simple nonfiction books. But here we go. Festivals, St. Patrick's Day. The author is Rebecca Pettiford. And there's also a lot of different people who work on this book. For example, we have an editor who, now the author is the person who writes the words to the story. The editor is somebody who looks at the book to make sure all the true information is correct and that there's no mistakes. And the editor here is Kristen Chang. And then we have a book designer. Now the book designer is the person who creates the book, looks at and draws out how the information will be displayed and create where the photos are placed and the cover. And the book designer here is Leah Sanders. And then we have a photo researcher. Now, in nonfiction or true books, they don't do illustrations or drawings like you see in your stories. Instead, they'll post real pictures or photographs. And a photo researcher is a person who looks for good photographs to put in the book. And the photo researcher here is also Leah Sanders. And then finally we have the publisher. And the publisher is the company or organization that puts the book together and sends it to the bookstores to sell. And the publisher here, as well as the whole series of Bullfrog Books, is Jump International. All right. Now, before we begin, I just want to show you something really quick. Nonfiction books will usually display something called a table of contents. And the table of contents, what that does is divide the books into sections. So if you want to read about something but not read the whole, learn one little thing about St. Patrick's Day but you don't want to read the whole thing, you can look at the table of contents for help. And usually nonfiction books also come with a with a glossary, which is a mini definite dictionary of words you may not know. If you come across a tricky word, look at the glossary and you'll probably see that word along with its meaning. And there's also, nonfiction books also include an index, which means it lists important things in the book that you may want to know about and gives you the page numbers. So if you want to look at one itty bitty little thing and not read the whole book, all you need to do is go to the index and you'll probably find the page number it belongs to. All right, with that being said, are we ready to begin? Okay, here we go. Green Day. It is March 17. Today is St. Patrick's Day. So, now we know a fact. St. Patrick's Day is always on March 17th. St. Patrick was a Christian. He lived in Ireland. He told people about God. He did good deeds. So St. Patrick's Day is based on a very important person named St. Patrick. And he was somebody who liked to talk about Christianity and the Word of God, but he also did a lot of things to help people. So now we have a day that Ireland created a day, because he lived in Ireland, that is to honor him. Now I'm just going to zoom out a little bit before we go on. Give me 1 minute. All right, hopefully that helps. All right, here we go. Today we honor Ireland and its people. Do we have to be Irish? What do you think, boys and girls? Do we have to be Irish to celebrate St. Patrick's Day? Yes or no? No, you don't have to be Irish. No, we can all have fun. So everybody can celebrate St. Patrick's Day if they choose to. You don't have to be Irish to do so. So do we want to read to find out the fun things we can do on St. Patrick's Day? All right, let's keep moving. We wear green. Why? Green is the color of Ireland. Oh no, Paul is not in green. Molly pinches him. Ow! Now sometimes people do pinch each other on the nose when they don't wear green, if somebody doesn't wear green. Apparently it's a tradition, but here's the thing, boys and girls. Pinching is it nice to pinch anybody? No. So boys and girls, don't do this. Look, it's a parade. People dance. They wave Irish flags. So with St. Patrick's Day, there's also a lot of parades. Everybody will wear green. They'll wear very nicely decorated hats. They'll walk across the street, and some will even dance, and some will even wave the Irish flag. That's a lot of fun, huh, boys and girls? All right, let's see what else we can do on St. Patrick's Day. Nora wears a hat. It has a shamrock on it. So if you can see at the top of the hat here, you can see a shamrock. So who's seen a shamrock? Very pretty, huh, boys and girls? And no matter how decorated the hat is, you will almost always find a shamrock on the hat. And the shamrock is the symbol of St. Patrick's Day. Mr. Rob is dressed like a leprechaun. So, boys and girls, who's heard of leprechauns? What do you know about leprechauns if you've heard of them? Well, a leprechaun is a person who only appears in the beginning of spring around the time of St. Patrick's Day, usually when there's a rainbow. And sometimes he likes to play tricks on people. And sometimes he'll carry a pot of gold. And rumor has it that if you catch the leprechaun, you can get the pot of gold. But that's just a rumor, boys and girls. But let's see what else happens. Mom makes corned beef. She makes cabbage. Yum! Now, boys and girls, corned beef and cabbage is a very popular St. Patrick's Day meal. You'll probably see in March if you go to the grocery store with your mom or dad, you'll probably see corned beef on sale. They'll be selling corned beef. This is corned beef right here. Doesn't it look yummy? And there's the cabbage right there. And it's also served with potatoes and carrots. Those are very common vegetables. But I assure you, boys and girls, it is very good. We eat green cookies. So sometimes for St. Patrick's Day, people will bake cookies, probably in the shape of a shamrock, and then decorate them in green. We drink green milk. Now, is there such a thing as green milk? Do cows make green milk? Yes or no? Well, if cows don't make green milk, how do we get the milk to be green? What do you think? Probably use food coloring to make the milk green. And that's okay. It's St. Patrick's Day. Happy St. Patrick's Day! And that is the end of the story. But like I said, extras in this book include the symbols of St. Patrick's Day, like the color green, corned beef and cabbage, the Irish flag, and the shamrock. Plus we got a glossary with pictures of all tricky words in the book that you may need a little help trying to figure out. Plus the index where you can find important information and the page numbers. And then it has a little bit of a blurb if you want to know more information about St. Patrick's Day. Alright, and that ends our story. Now, I read this, since this was a very simple and short book, I read it from beginning to end. Now, what do you think, boys and girls? Do you need to read a nonfiction book from beginning to end? What do you think? Why or why not? Well, the answer here is no. You don't need to read a nonfiction book from beginning to end. It is not a story like fiction books. It contains true facts. And sometimes you may want to know one thing about something like a holiday and maybe not learn a lot about everything. So sometimes all you really need to read is one section, and that's okay. Because like I said, this is not a story. It just contains true information. But now that we read the book, can you think about one new thing that you learned about St. Patrick's Day? Alright, so I hope you learned one new thing about St. Patrick's Day, and I hope you enjoyed this book and are looking forward to reading other nonfiction books. Alright, so we're gonna go on to our next story, but before that, give me 1 minute. All right. So let's move on to our next story. Well, this one's actually going to be a story based on true information, but it's a story. And it's also about St. Patrick's Day. And this book is called The Luckiest St. Patrick's Day Ever. It's all about a parade being ready to start. And again, I'll point to the words as I read along, and if you know the words, boys and girls, please feel free to follow along. All right, here we go. The Luckiest St. Patrick's Day Ever. The author is Teddy Slater, and the illustrator is Ethan Long. Now, the illustrator is the person who draws the pictures in the story. And the publisher is Cartwheel Books, which is a trademark of Scholastic Inc. All right, with that being said, let's begin, boys and girls. Top of the morning. It's March 17. The leprechaun family is wearing the green. So, do you see a pattern here, boys and girls? Looks like we got some words that rhyme, such as 17 and green. So you may be able to read along if you got that. There's rhyming words. St. Patrick's Parade is about to begin. The wee ones are marching. Come on, let's join in. Good job, boys and girls. There goes Bedelia leading the clan, arm in arm with Granddaddy Dan. She swings her chalet. They walk and talk gaily, moving as fast as they can. There you go. Timothy Shaughnessy, handsome and bold, marches along with a big pot of, and if you don't know that word, use the picture to help you. Gold. Good job, boys and girls. And here comes Aunt Rose, tapping her toes with shamrock in hand. She follows the, what word is that? What rhymes with hand? Band. Good job. Decked out in her very best. You may want to look at the picture to help you with this one, boys and girls. Clothes. Good job. Toodle-dee-toot, rum-a-tum-tum. Johnny and Jack played a fife and a, what word is that? Look at the picture to help you. What's this a picture of, boys and girls? This thing. Drum. Good job. They kick up their heels in a wild Irish jig. Everyone's dancing, even the, what word is that? Look at the picture to help you. Pig. Good job, boys and girls. After the march, it's back home for lunch. Mulligan stew and green apple. What's that word? What rhymes with lunch? Punch. Kate cuts the cabbage, Pat shells the peas. The mischievous children just do as they... This one may be a tricky word. Please. Friends and family keep coming to call. There's plenty of food for one and for... What's that word, boys and girls? This one may also be a tricky one. All. The Caseys, McGregors, O'Grady's, Peg Finn. Everyone's welcome, please. Won't you come? What word is that? In. Good job, boys and girls. Last season, laddies, stream through the door until there's no room for one caller. What's that word, boys and girls? This one may be a tricky one. More. The leprechauns crowd round the dining room table, piling their plates as high as they are there. What's that word? That one may be tricky. What rhymes with table if you take away the T? Able. But before they dig in, they have one thing to say. May the luck of the Irish be with you. What's that word? Today. Everybody with me? Happy St. Patrick's Day! And that is the end of the story. All right, so what did you think, boys and girls? Did you like the story? Was there something you didn't like about it? Well, take a minute or two to think about one thing you liked about the story or one thing you didn't like about the story. All right, in any event, I hope you enjoyed these two books today. I certainly enjoyed reading to you, but we are going to move on to our next part of our program. Now, usually, I will be including an optional activity for you to complete during this series, or you can choose to read more books for the remainder of our time if you like. However, there's not really going to be an activity for this session per se. Instead, I am going to be briefly sharing tips on how to choose appropriate nonfiction books for you boys and girls to read. And parents, these are good tips as well to help your child find age-appropriate books. Now, before I begin, I just want to tell you that these tips I am going to share with you are from the website Reading Eggs. So, if you're interested in this article as well as other similar articles, please click on the web link in the video description. Okay, so as I mentioned before, nonfiction books are books that contain true information about a particular area or subject. It could be dinosaurs, it could be animals, it could be holidays, it could be sports, it could be about anything. And yes, nonfiction includes biographies about very important people. Now, parents, your child will need to get into the hang of reading nonfiction books, because the older they get, they're going to be given more reports and projects as they get older. So they're going to need to be familiar with nonfiction books, because a lot of these projects will require looking up information about something, maybe such as a person, or about a country, or about an animal. So they're going to need to get used to reading nonfiction books, because that's what they are going to be using in order to complete these projects. And the younger they are when they start reading nonfiction books, the better it'll be. All right, but with that being said, here's a question that may come to mind. How do I get in the process of introducing nonfiction to my child? Or how do I find the right nonfiction books for my child? Well, I'm going to share some simple tips. Like I said, these are from the website Reading Eggs, and they're not the tell-all, end-all. You may have other strategies. You can certainly use those as well. I am just sharing these with you just to incorporate. Like I said, this is not the end-all, tell-all. But with that being said, let me share some of these tips with you. Now, the first thing, parents, that you want to do to help your child find some nonfiction books is to talk about nonfiction. You may want to read a nonfiction book to your child. Before you do that, tell them that the book is not going to be a story. You're going to be reading a nonfiction book, and that means that the book is going to give you information that is true. It's not made up. This is true information about something. And if you explain that to your child before you read, eventually your child will understand the difference between those fiction books and nonfiction books. Another tip: find out what your child is very interested in. Is your child interested in cars? Are they interested in dinosaurs? Do they like baseball? Find out what your child loves to read about, and then get those nonfiction books based on what they like. And you can read them together in order to help them understand more about what they're interested in, or to gather more information or answers that they may have questions about. Now, if the book is a little on the challenging side, that's okay. As I mentioned before, you don't have to read a nonfiction book from beginning to end. So even if you get a book that's a little bit more challenging, if you're just reading one section, that's perfectly okay. Especially if you're reading along with your child. All right, another tip to choose some good nonfiction books, or age-appropriate nonfiction books. What's happening in your child's life? Are you going to be going on a road trip in the future to another state? Are you going to be visiting a museum or an art gallery? Is there a history or art festival happening where you live? Get materials or information on where you're going to visit. You could pull some information from websites, maps, travel guides, or if you're visiting an art museum, get some books about paintings and artists, and read them with your child before and after you visit. Because if they can connect what they're reading to what they're actually doing, they will understand it more. And it will mean a lot more to them if the book is based on what they're actually doing. All right, another tip. Find out their favorite fictional stories and match them with nonfiction books. So, let's say your child really enjoys a particular book or a book series or even a TV show or film. Find out what they love to watch or read about and choose nonfiction books that match. Do they like the Berenstain Bears? Select nonfiction books about bears, especially in that case grizzly bears. Do they watch movies with dinosaur characters? Find books about fossils, other dinosaurs and other species that are extinct. Like I said, if they can connect those nonfiction books to what they like to read or watch, it means a lot more to them. And it also helps them develop their interests to learn about other things. Another tip. Find books that have captions, photos, maps, drawings, diagrams. They're called graphics. Sometimes reading a book with just words will get boring. If you get nonfiction books that have these photos, the maps, graphs, small captions and diagrams, it'll help your child be more interested in what they're reading. And not only that, but it helps teach them to connect that illustration or graph or map with the words they are reading. And that's called analytical reading. It's a great way to introduce your child to that. And it helps having them refer to those graphics allows them to understand what they are reading. And these skills will be useful for when they're older and they're going to need to look at those nonfiction books in order to complete reports and projects. Oh, and also now it's a good time around this to introduce table of contents, the index, and the glossary, like I did previously during this program. And then our last tip to share with you, plan a day trip. Are you going to a baseball stadium? Are you going to the local park? Are you even going to our aquarium or Riverhead? Get some nonfiction books that relate to where you're going. But don't read them just yet. Select the books, go on the day trip, and if your child has questions for you, don't answer them right away. Just say, we'll talk about it later. And also let them know that when you return, you'll be reading a book together to find out the answer. And then when you get home, read those nonfiction books to help answer your child's questions. This helps teach your child the skills. If they have a question, they can read to find the answer they are looking for, which again is a great skill for your child to pick up when they actually do those projects and reports as they get older. All right, so those are the tips that I've shared with you today. So what I'm going to do now is give you a few minutes to either read some simple nonfiction books or simple stories, and you can add them to your log. Like I said, when you registered, you would have received a sheet with book recommendations, including the books that we read today, and you can add those to your log sheet. So I will give you a few minutes, starting now. All right, boys and girls, so stop what you're doing, please. And if you need more time, because this is a pre-recorded video, you can always pause the video if you want more time to finish a book or select a book. But anyway, I hope you had fun today. Now, included in your kits when you registered, you will also get a list of tips, the copy of the list of tips for selecting nonfiction books. And usually I'll always have like a mini worksheet packet for you to complete at your own time. We are not doing that this series. Instead, you'll just focus on selecting some good age-appropriate nonfiction books that you are interested in, boys and girls. I am looking forward to next month, but before then, please check out the other virtual and in-person programs that myself and the other children's librarians here have to offer at the Westhampton Free Library. But until next time, this is Miss Brianne saying take good care of yourselves, have a great day, and I'll see you soon.